Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Have you ever wondered, can the colors around us quietly influence our creativity and focus every single day? It might sound surprising, but there's real truth behind it. Think back to the last morning you spent in a room filled with natural light, soft blue curtains, pale cream walls, and a vase of fresh flowers by the window. How did you feel in that moment? Was your mind lighter, your thoughts clearer, and your mood somehow brighter in a way that's hard to explain? That's the subtle power of color, something simple, yet deeply connected to how we think and feel, especially as we grow older. After the age of 60, our brains naturally begin to shift how they function. That makes it more important than ever to create living spaces that support flexibility, focus, and imagination. And among the many tools we can use daily to support brain health, color is one of the easiest to access. You don't need medication or technology, and you don't need to learn anything new. Sometimes, just adjusting the tones around you can make a big difference in how clearly your mind works. Many older adults have shared a similar experience. Once they started living in spaces filled with brighter, more calming, and harmoniously blended colors, they began to feel not just more cheerful, but also more focused, mentally clear, and even creative. So can color really do all that? The answer is yes, when we know how to use it with intention. When it comes to the effects of color on the brain, numerous scientific studies have shown that we don't just see color with our eyes. We react to it emotionally and physiologically. For example, researchers at the University of British Columbia ran an experiment in which participants performed creativity and logic tasks in rooms painted red, blue, or white. The results? Those in the blue room came up with significantly more creative ideas. Blue tones are known for evoking calm, intelligence, and depth. They help the brain enter a state of open thinking, which is ideal for writing, problem solving, or imagining something new. On the other hand, red enhances attention to detail and can be useful for tasks requiring accuracy. But for older adults, who may be more sensitive to stimulation, too much red can feel overwhelming. Take Charles, 67, who lives in Boston. He used to feel sluggish and distracted when working in his small, dark office with gray walls and a tiny window. A friend who's an interior designer suggested repainting the room in soft sky blue, adding a seascape painting above the desk, and opening up the window to let in more natural light. Within a few weeks, Charles noticed a big difference. His thinking became sharper, his mood lighter, and he even felt younger. He said, "I thought I was just changing the color of my walls. I didn't expect to feel 10 years younger." What's also important is harmony in color. Everyone responds to colors differently depending on personal experiences and emotional connections. So the key isn't choosing the best color. It's finding the one that makes you feel relaxed, focused, and inspired. For one person, that might be the lush green of summer leaves. For another, a soft yellow like morning sunlight. Another key element in how we experience color is light. Color doesn't exist in a vacuum. It comes to life through light. A soft blue can look dull without sunlight. A pale yellow can feel radiant and full of energy in the right morning glow. As we age, our vision changes, making our perception of light more sensitive. That's why it's important to pair color choices with thoughtful lighting, especially if we want to support brain function. Take Ellen, 72, from Seattle. After retiring, she turned a small corner of her living room into a creative space, where she embroiders, writes cards, and keeps a journal. She chose cream-colored walls, added embroidery hoops in soft pinks and mint green, and placed a warm-tone lamp next to a sunny window. Every morning, Ellen sits there with a cup of tea and writes a few lines. She shared, "The colors make me feel like I'm sitting inside a gentle memory. They help me relax, and somehow they inspire me to write things I never thought of before." What we've seen so far makes it clear. Color isn't just about decoration. It's part of how we feel, how we remember, and how we think. For older adults, whose senses are often more refined and responsive, color could be an incredibly powerful source of energy and creativity. A well-chosen color on the wall might be the start of a more energized day, or even the spark of a brand new idea. So how can we choose and arrange colors that support brain function, reflect our personality, and still feel calming instead of overwhelming? In the next part, we'll take a closer look at how different colors affect different areas of the brain, and why that matters even more after 60. You might be surprised to learn that each color doesn't just bring a general feeling. It actually activates entirely different areas of the brain. Our minds don't just see color, they feel it. And for older adults, the response to specific tones can shift depending on mood, environment, and even age. Take green, for instance. It's widely seen as a symbol of life, nature, and renewal. But to the brain, green also plays a very specific role. It promotes balance and stability. Researchers at Oxford University discovered that when people were exposed to green tones for short periods, the activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for focus and emotional regulation, became noticeably more stable. This effect is especially valuable for seniors, who may sometimes struggle with vague anxiety or difficulty staying concentrated for long periods. Imagine Margaret, 70, living in California. Every morning she steps into her kitchen decorated with small potted plants, light olive curtains, and a tablecloth with simple leafy patterns. She says being in that space feels like stepping into a garden. It softens her mood and helps her focus on preparing breakfast. Just a little green, and my whole day feels calmer. She smiles. Now let's move to yellow, a color often misunderstood. Many assume yellow is harsh or overwhelming, but that depends on the shade. When used with care, think soft butter yellow, warm cream, or pale sunshine. Yellow can inspire joy, optimism, and creative thinking. In a study conducted in Japan, scientists found that when older adults spent time reading or working in environments with soft yellow accents, they retained information better and responded more quickly on simple tests. On an autumn afternoon at the home of Henry, 74, in Vermont, you'd notice a cozy reading nook by the window, a light yellow armchair, a honey-colored knit blanket, and a warm-toned lamp casting a soft glow. Henry used to lose focus when reading. He'd forget what he just read or lose track of the plot. But after redesigning that corner with softer, warmer hues, he found he could dive into his books more easily and remember details better. Yellow wakes up my curiosity, he says. It's not loud, but invites me in. Then there's orange, the color of energy, creativity, and connection. But with orange, balance is key. While bright orange might be great for younger folks who need a jolt of motivation, for older adults, too much can be overwhelming. Softer shades like peach, coral, or apricot, however, have a lovely emotional warmth, just enough to spark gentle energy without overstimulating the senses. Joanne, 69, from Florida, transformed her tiny balcony into a personal creative space. She painted one accent wall coral, added white patio chairs, and surrounded herself with small tropical plants. Every afternoon, she sits there to knit, jot down notes, or sometimes sketch. There's something about being out there, she says with bright eyes. It feels like I'm being hugged by sunshine. The ideas just come to me. That's the magic of color. When chosen thoughtfully and placed intentionally, it becomes a quiet bridge between emotion and focus. Especially for seniors, whose energy may fluctuate from day to day, color can act like a steady companion, reliable, gentle, and inspiring. Color doesn't just influence individuals. It also creates a shared emotional tone in communal spaces. When a room is designed with soft, harmonious hues, people naturally adjust their energy to match the atmosphere. That's why community centers across the U.S. are paying more attention to how they use color in reading rooms, creative spaces, and activity areas for older adults. It's not just about aesthetics. It's about nurturing a mental space where creativity and concentration can flourish. One center in Denver, Colorado, shifted from dull beige walls to soft mint green, pale blue, and blush pink. They also added subtle, colorful art pieces to draw the eye gently. The results were striking. The rooms became brighter and more welcoming, and more people began signing up for creative workshops and memory classes. A staff member said, "We didn't change what we taught. We just changed the colors." But it felt like we brought a fresh breeze into everyone's day. It's clear that each color has its own voice, and when we learn to listen to that voice, we begin to understand more about ourselves. For those over 60, this stage of life is a perfect time to spark curiosity again, reignite old passions, and reclaim a sense of peaceful focus. And color is one of the most natural, gentle tools we can use to support that journey. In the next part, we'll go deeper into colors that are often misunderstood, like purple, gray, and even white, and explore how, when used well, They can become powerful foundations for lasting creativity and calm focus in later life. When we talk about colors that enhance creativity and focus, most people don't immediately think of purple, gray, or white. These colors are often misunderstood, labeled as cold, dull, or emotionless. But in truth, when used in the right way, these shades can bring a unique sense of calm, clarity, and inner connection. And for older adults, that quiet stimulation can be even more valuable than bright, energizing tones. Take purple, especially its softer variations like lavender, lilac, or misty violet. For centuries, purple has been associated with reflection, spirituality, and deep thinking. Scientific studies on color and brain activity have found that exposure to purple tends to activate regions related to imagination and abstract thought, areas that help maintain creative thinking and mental flexibility as we age. Walter, 76, from Oregon, was an art teacher for over 30 years. After retiring, he felt his creative sparks slowly fading. One day, while cleaning out his old studio, he came across a watercolor set filled with soft purples. Instead of repainting the space beige as he originally planned, he tried something different. He painted one wall in a light lavender shade, added a sheer curtain in the same tone, and placed a lamp with a soft purple glow in the corner. Within weeks, he found himself painting again, not out of obligation, but because ideas were gently returning. Purple feels like a doorway to my inner world, he told me. I don't need to say much. Just sitting in that space reconnects me to myself. Unlike colors that jolt the mind awake, soft purples calm the surface of the brain while inviting deeper thinking. It's not a color for quick energy, but for thoughtful reflection, helping older adults slow down mentally while thinking more richly and creatively. If purple touches the inner world, gray, especially light, soft gray, offers a space for focus and simplicity. Gray is often seen as dull or even depressing, but that depends on how it's used. For older adults, gray can become a perfect background, reducing visual noise, minimizing distractions, and allowing the eyes and mind to rest and refocus. Susan, 71, from Illinois, enjoys knitting and making handmade greeting cards. She used to work in a room with warm beige walls, but the light reflection made her eyes tire quickly. After a suggestion from her granddaughter, who studies interior design, she repainted the room in a pale gray and chose neutral tones for the furniture, whites, soft taupes, and light stone. To her surprise, she felt her eyes relax, her attention sharpen, and her mind slowed down in a good way. I thought gray would make me sleepy, she said, but it actually clears my head, like silencing unnecessary background noise. Gray doesn't excite or demand attention, and that's exactly why it can help the brain breathe, especially when someone wants to think patiently, work with their hands, or simply be present. A pale gray with a touch of blue or lavender, combined with warm lighting, can create a remarkably peaceful space, one where you can write for hours, read in silence, or simply let your thoughts wander. And then there's white, perhaps the most misunderstood color of all. Many people think of white as sterile, hospital-like, or lacking personality. But white is, in essence, a blank canvas, a space where thoughts, emotions, and inspiration can take shape. For older adults who prefer clarity, order, and calm, white can be the ideal color to create a bright, clean, and mentally open environment. Robert, 75, from Pennsylvania, lives alone in a small apartment high above the city. His home is almost entirely white, soft white walls, pale gray carpet, white bookshelves. It might sound boring, but he balances it with natural sunlight, a few green plants, and accents of warm tones. The result is a space filled with light, peace, and quiet energy. I need white space, he says. It gives my thoughts room to move, to breathe. And true to his word, that simplicity helps him journal daily, focus while reading, and feel mentally clearer with each passing day. Whether it's the introspective calm of purple, the focus-enhancing stillness of gray, or the mental clarity of white, these often overlooked colors share a powerful quality. They let the mind rest while staying awake, not in a sleepy way, but in a centered, balanced way. For older adults who seek both calm and creativity, these shades offer a gentle, steady foundation. The key isn't just what color you choose, but how that color shows up in your space. A stark white wall can feel cold on its own, but paired with soft curtain, a lavender plant, or a few warm-colored books, that same white becomes a perfect backdrop for inspiration. That's why, for those over 60 seeking creativity and focus, sometimes removing color can be just as powerful as adding it. Creating space, visually and mentally, allows ideas to flow in, emotions to settle, and thoughts to unfold without the distraction of too much visual noise. By rethinking how we use these misunderstood shades, we open new doors to personal environments that quietly support both the heart and the mind, making it easier to think clearly, create joyfully, and simply be. In the next part, we'll explore how combining colors, blending warm and cool tones, background shades, and accent highlights, can create spaces that not only look beautiful, but also nurture lasting focus and creative energy for seniors. If each color is a musical note, then combining them is the art of composing a melody for the mind. A single color carries its own message, but when we pair them thoughtfully, we don't just create beautiful spaces. We build gentle waves of energy that can help older adults feel at ease, stay focused, and awaken creativity in the softest way. After the age of 60, the brain doesn't respond to sudden stimulation the way it once did. It craves harmony, a balance that allows mental alertness to flow steadily rather than in bursts. That's why instead of using just one color throughout a room, combining warm tones, like soft yellows, peach, or earthy reds, with cool tones, such as sky blue, mint green, or gentle gray, can strike the right chord between energy and calm, action and reflection. Picture Lorraine, 73, from Minnesota. She loves to write and spend a few hours each morning journaling or working on short stories. Her study was originally painted light blue, a calming shade. But after some time, she found herself feeling too relaxed, even a little sleepy, and struggled to stay productive. After reading about color combinations and creativity, she decided to make a few small changes. She added a burnt orange throw pillow, a wooden picture frame in a reddish tone, and a honey yellow table runner. The difference was immediate. She felt more awake each morning and noticed her concentration improve. "I didn't change the way I write," she said. "I just changed the colors around me. But it's like I open a window inside my mind." A living space is like a symphony. Background colors act as a steady rhythm, while accent colors are the little solos that catch your attention. Background tones are the dominant ones in a room: walls, floors, large furniture pieces. They should be stable, soft, and easy on the eyes, especially when seen for long periods. Accent colors, a cushion, a painting, a notebook, or a vase, are like sparks that gently wake up your awareness and keep the mind refreshed. Patrick, 68, from New Mexico, used to feel that his reading room lacked character, even though it was well organized. The walls were beige, the sofa was a soft gray, and the bookshelf was light wood. It was all harmonious, but also easy to forget. A friend who worked in art suggested he had a few accent touches: a mint green woven rug under the coffee table, 2 burnt orange cushions, and a piece of abstract art featuring blue and brick red. Just a few additions, and the room came alive. Patrick said, "I don't know why, but I started reading more. I remembered more of what I read. It felt like the room had energy." For older adults, accents don't need to be bold or flashy. Sometimes, a deep green mug next to a favorite book or a golden yellow tablecloth under a simple wooden lamp is enough to give the brain an emotional anchor, a place for the eyes to rest and the thoughts to reset. Accent colors also help with long-term focus. When the brain starts to tire, it unconsciously looks for a place to pause. A gentle color detail helps that process feel natural, not disruptive. The beautiful thing is, you don't need to be a designer or artist to combine colors well. You just need to ask yourself one simple question: does this color make me feel comfortable? If the answer is yes, then it's the right color for you. And if you combine it with a soft, calming bass tone, you've already created a space that supports both your thinking and your spirit, without needing to follow any complex design rules. Everyone has their own rhythm of life, especially as we grow older. Some people feel calm in cool, muted colors. Others come alive with warmth and vibrance. And many of us need a little of both, like a musical piece with quiet verses and joyful choruses. What matters most is that your space matches your brain's rhythm, a place that greets you gently, listens to your moods, and allows you to simply be. Diane, 70, from Virginia, used to be afraid of bold colors. Her home was filled with whites, creams, and soft grays. But after her husband passed, everything started to feel too quiet. One day at a flea market, she bought a tablecloth with floral patterns in purple, pink, and yellow. She planned to use it once, just to try it out. But something changed. After that day, she began journaling again. "I think that color reminded me that life is still happening," she said, "and that I still have things to write about. That story isn't just about color. It's about how small visual changes can stir something deep inside us, gently and wordlessly." Combining colors isn't just about aesthetics. It's a daily conversation with yourself, through what your eyes see, what your heart feels, and how your mind breathes. When the colors are balanced, they don't just make a room beautiful. They help the memories stay sharper, the mind stay focused, and the spirit feel steady. In the next part, we'll explore how specific colors can support common daily activities for seniors, like reading, painting, journaling, or even a calming walk, and how making small color choices can turn everyday moments into a richer, more focused, and joyful experience. Colors don't just live on walls or in big pieces of furniture. They quietly find their way into the smallest moments of our daily lives. The mug we sip tea from in the morning, the notebook we write in at night, even the shoes we wear on a peaceful walk through the park. And when those little details carry the right colors, they become subtle emotional anchors that make our everyday routines feel deeper, more focused, and more inspired. Let's start with reading, a precious habit many older adults keep to nourish their minds. An ideal reading space doesn't need to be fancy, but one thing truly matters: the background color and lighting. Studies have shown that soft, neutral tones like light gray, beige, or pale blue help prevent eye strain during long reading sessions. These colors also act as gentle backdrops, allowing readers to sink more easily into the words. When paired with warm yellow lighting, they create a cocoon-like atmosphere that draws the mind into calm concentration, like being gently cradled by the story on the page. Nancy, 69, from Colorado, has a simple reading corner: a soft gray armchair, off-white bookshelves, a sandy-colored rug, and a warm reading lamp. But what she cherishes most is a single olive green cushion she picked up on a whim. "I didn't think it would matter," she laughed, "but since I got that pillow, I can sit and read longer without getting tired. My eyes feel like they're resting while I read." In this case, color didn't demand attention. It offered quiet support for mind. If reading is a journey into someone else's world, journaling is a return to your own. Many seniors say that writing down their thoughts, memories, or even just a day's events helps them feel more centered, more at ease, and more in tune with themselves. And interestingly, color can shape the tone of each journal entry in subtle but powerful ways. Not everyone thinks about choosing notebook colors or ink shades based on mood, but a soft lavender cover might invite more openness. A brown ink pen might feel comforting and personal. Even just a golden yellow lamp or a coral-colored flower vase nearby can lower anxiety and help the words flow more freely. Gerald, 72, from Arizona, used to struggle with journaling. "I'd sit down and nothing came to mind," he said. Then one day, his granddaughter gave him a sky blue notebook and a pen with dusty rose-colored ink. "I was surprised," he smiled. "But ever since then, it's been easier to write. The blue calms me, and the ink, it's strange, but it brings back memories I thought I'd forgotten." You don't need to be a professional writer. All you need is a space that feels kind, a color that opens you up. And when this becomes a gentle daily habit, it becomes a practice that nourishes memory, uplifts the spirit, and strengthens a connection to yourself. Just like writing, painting is another form of creativity that speaks deeply to older adults. But unlike writing, which uses language, painting allows emotion to come through directly, without the filter of words. That's why color in painting is not just a tool. It's the message itself. Many senior art classes in the U.S. don't begin with teaching techniques. Instead, they begin with color interaction. Participants are asked to choose a color that speaks to them that day, and then use it to make free-form marks on paper. This color first, thought second method activates the brain differently, letting feelings guide the process and allowing memory and imagination to naturally follow. Another activity with surprising cognitive benefits is something as simple as walking. And yes, even on a walk, color quietly plays a role. The environment you walk through, tree leaves and soft greens, warm earth browns, misty gray sidewalks, or the pale gold of morning sunlight. All these natural colors help calm the nervous system, lower stress hormones like cortisol, and gently guide the brain into a listening, sensing, reflective state. These are the golden moments when ideas appear, old memories return, or you simply feel deeply present and alive. Thomas, 74, from a suburb of Portland, walks every morning under a canopy of maple trees. I used to think walking was just exercise, he said. But then I realized the greens and the leaves, the rusty browns in the trunks, the soft gray of the damp road, they all come together and clear my head. On some days, he carries a small notebook. When a thought or memory surfaces, he stops under a tree and writes it down. I think the colors are calling them out, he said with a smile. You don't have to go far. You can create your own emotional walking path right at home. A hallway with soft-colored paintings, a few indoor plants by the window, or a balcony dressed in gentle tones. All these can guide your mind back into balance. These quiet walking moments are when your brain gently recharges. No screens, no apps, just space and color and time. Colors don't just make things pretty. They ease the soul, sharpen the mind, awaken memories, and spark new ideas. And when you weave them into your daily activities, reading, writing, painting, or walking, you're not just improving focus or memory. You're discovering joy in the smallest and most meaningful ways. In the next part, we'll explore something even more fascinating: how memories and emotions tied to color can reawaken the brain, and how people over 60 can use this connection to restore mental flexibility, even when memory shows signs of fading. There's something remarkable that modern science is increasingly confirming. Colors don't just pass through our eyes. They go straight to our memories and emotions. And for older adults, whose long-term memories often feel more vivid than what happened yesterday, color becomes a kind of key that quietly unlocks the door inward. Each person carries what we might call memory colors. For one, it might be the deep green of an elementary schoolyard. For another, it could be the deep red of a party dress worn on a special night. These colors don't just remind us of an image. They bring back an entire atmosphere, a feeling, a living moment you can almost touch. And for that reason, color can be an incredibly powerful tool for activating long-term memory areas in the brain. Richard, 76, from Texas, used to be a jazz saxophonist. After a mild stroke, he struggled with short-term memory, often forgetting conversations or where he left things. But then his daughter hung up an old mural filled with deep burgundy, navy blue, and warm gold, the exact tones of a jazz club where he played for over a decade. Something unexpected happened. Richard began to tell detailed stories about the nights he performed, the people he worked with, even the songs he used to love. "I can't remember what I had for dinner," he said, "but I remember every note from 1985. What Richard experienced isn't random. Neuroscientists call it emotional memory, where memories are stored not just as facts, but alongside feelings, sounds, smells, and especially visual color cues. When we encounter a color with strong personal meaning, the brain automatically pulls in the memory that came with it. And in older adults, the deep memory areas like the hippocampus are even more likely to light up when color is involved. Some memory therapists in the U.S. have started using this effect in gentle exercises for older adults with mild cognitive decline. They host memory activation through color sessions, where participants are shown objects, fabrics, or pictures featuring color palettes popular during the decades they came of age. What follows isn't just recollection, it's reconnection. People begin to talk, recall names, or laugh unexpectedly as old memories reawaken. Martha, 71, from Michigan, worked as a nurse in the 1970s. When she saw a dark green apron and white nursing shoes, the typical uniform from back then, she suddenly said, "That disinfectant smell was strong, but strange as it sounds, I kind of miss it." Then came a flood of stories. Night shifts, patients she cared for, even a little radio on her desk that played soft rock each night. The therapist noted, sometimes a single color, placed in the right setting, can be enough to unlock a part of the brain that's been quiet for years. The important thing is this: you don't need to wait until memory fades to begin using color as a mental support. Even now, people over 60 can begin creating environments that feature their personal colors, tones tied to good memories, younger years, or meaningful times. Whether it's on a curtain, a photo, or an old journal cover, these colors quietly prompt the brain to remember, helping maintain a strong, living connection with one's past. You might not always recall the exact memory attached to a certain color, but that's okay. What matters is how it makes you feel. Sometimes, walking into a room painted in a tone you loved when you were younger, or holding an object with a familiar hue, brings a quiet sense of return. That's how color helps us reconnect with ourselves. No logic, no effort, just feeling. Many older adults have said that once they began choosing colors for emotions, their mood stabilized, their worries quieted, and, interestingly, they had more to say. Jim, 73, from Ohio, once shared during a group session. When I see burnt orange, I can't remember exactly what happened, but I feel like I'm standing in the backyard baking pies with my wife on a fall afternoon. The smell, the laughter, the sunlight, it all comes back, just from a pillow. That feeling inspired Jim to start writing down memories. Not in order, not in detail, but as small color-based moments. And eventually, those little moments became the source of comfort and reflection he returned to each day. When chosen thoughtfully, color can become a kind of mindful practice. It doesn't require you to sit still, close your eyes, or control your breath. All it asks is that you look and let your mind naturally soften, connect, and come alive. In a world full of constant stimulation, color becomes a quiet place for your eyes to rest and for your thoughts to feel whole again. In the next part, we'll explore how to create a personal creative space where adults over 60 can use color not just to improve mental clarity, but to reconnect with a sense of purpose and joy through small daily acts like writing, arranging flowers, or crafting simple creations. After many years spent working, raising families, and carrying responsibilities, most people forget they once had a little corner of their life just for inspiration, a place where they wrote their first sentences, cut and glued pictures, stitched a first line of thread, or simply colored in a blank page. After 60, that creative spark hasn't disappeared. It's simply waiting to be called back, gently at the right time, and to awaken it. Few things are more powerful than a personal creative space, a space where every detail seems a whisper. You can still dream, you can still create, and there are still stories worth telling. A creative space doesn't have to be big. It could be a small table, a quiet corner in a room, or even a windowsill bathed in morning light. What matters isn't the size, it's how that space makes you feel. Safe, free, yourself. And one of the things that helps create that feeling is color. Daniel, 70, from Oregon, used to be a civil engineer, a life full of numbers and blueprints. But after retiring, he realized he no longer felt drawn to measurements and structures. What gave him peace now was sitting down to write short reflections on places he had visited. At first, he wrote at the kitchen table in an old notebook. But then his wife, who has always loved color, helped him set up a small corner of his own, a muted blue-gray wall, a worn wooden desk, and a few black and white photos in reddish-brown frames. Something shifted. Since that day, he's written every morning. No prompts, no pressure. It feels like someone is waiting for me to tell the story, he said. Not someone else. Just me, the younger me. There are quiet mornings when a simple vase of flowers on a breakfast table, soft pink carnations, pale yellow chrysanthemums, can lift the spirit. Flower arranging doesn't require skill, just feeling. And that feeling often comes from the color. Older adults don't just choose flowers for how they look, but for how they feel. A sprig of lavender calms the heart. A pastel rose brings back an anniversary. A touch of green makes the room feel like it can breathe again. Judith, 75, from Washington, has a lovely habit. Every Monday, she visits the local flower market and chooses whatever colors call her name. She doesn't arrange them by any rules, just by instinct. After a few weeks, she noticed she was remembering things better, writing more easily, and no longer feeling that fog in her mind. I don't know why, she said, but when I pick the colors that feel right for me that week, I feel awake. Each flower is like a soft reminder. I'm still living. Beyond flowers, other small activities, crafting, knitting, writing letters, or decorating journals, are beautiful ways for older adults to stay mentally and emotionally connected. And once again, Color is a gentle spark that keeps the creative fire glowing. It doesn't need to be bold. A skein of golden beige yarn, a sheet of light brown paper, a vintage postage stamp with a soft green hue. Each can stir memories the mind didn't know were still there. Samuel, 78, became quiet and withdrawn after his wife passed away. His son gifted him a letter-writing kit, paper with soft gray patterns, 10 envelopes, and a fountain pen with deep green ink. At first, he meant to write just a few lines to his granddaughter, but somehow he filled one page, then 2, then 3. After a few weeks, he was writing every day. "I don't feel alone anymore," he said. "These colors remind me that I still have something to say, and someone who wants to hear it." Not everyone is an artist or has a background in creativity, but that's never been the point. You don't need to be a professional to feed your spirit through small acts, and color is your quiet companion in that journey. When you place a color on paper, choose a tablecloth, or light a candle in your favorite tone, you're choosing your feeling for the day. And when that choice becomes part of a gentle habit, you'll begin to feel more connected, more clear, and more grounded, even in the quietest moments. After 60, you don't need to do more to feel alive. Sometimes, a corner painted in your favorite shade, a powder blue journal beside the window, or a soft orange mug is enough to remind you. You can still create. You can still feel. And life hasn't stopped. Some people feel most inspired by earth tones, browns, moss greens, misty grays. Others need a soft spark from coral red, lemon yellow, or lavender. The beautiful thing is, there's no right or wrong color. The only question is, what color does your spirit want to rest in today? Choosing color after 60 is like composing a quiet song for yourself. Not to impress anyone, not to be perfect, but to hear your own melody again. And that can begin with the smallest of things. In the final part, we'll reflect on the journey color has taken us through, from memory to focus to creative spark. And you'll begin to see why, even in its quietest form, color can be a meaningful companion for staying sharp, joyful, and inspired after 60. As we look back on the journey we've taken together, perhaps the most surprising realization is just how quietly powerful color can be. It doesn't need to be loud or complicated to make a difference. Color shows up in the smallest corners of our lives, in the spaces we inhabit, the objects we touch, even the memories still resting quietly inside our minds. And once we begin to see color as a companion, we realize something deeper, that every part of life can feel richer, softer, and more meaningful simply by changing how we notice and feel it. We've explored how color can calm the mind and deepen focus, how it can reconnect us with long-held memories and stir emotions we thought were gone. We've seen how it shows up in everyday creative activities, reading, journaling, arranging flowers, or simply pausing to admire a painting on the wall. Each shade, each tone, quietly whispers, "I'm here with you." After 60, we no longer need bright flashes of attention to feel alive. What we seek is depth, connection, and the sense that we are still fully present in each moment. And color, even if it's just a wash of sunlight on a table, the hue of a morning mug, or the background tone of a favorite book, can be a small doorway into a vast world inside us. Robert, 77, from California, once shared something quietly profound. "I used to think I was past the age of starting anything new," he said. "But one day, I painted my bookshelf navy blue, the color my wife used to love. And after that, I started reading again. One book, then another, then a third. I started writing little notes, letters. I remembered things I hadn't thought about in years. I don't know if it was a paint, but I know something inside me woke up." We often think of mental health as something we must train, practice, and work hard to maintain. But sometimes, the most nourishing support comes from the softest places, like letting our eyes rest on a familiar color that stirs something gentle in us. A breath, a memory, a small moment of reconnection. You don't have to be a painter to use color. You just have to be yourself, someone who still feels, still remembers, still dreams. And if tomorrow you begin your day with one chosen color, something peaceful, something nostalgic, or simply something that makes you smile, then that in itself is a beautiful act. Before we end this journey together, I'd love to ask you, if you were to start your next day with a color, What would it be and why? Feel free to share your answer in the comments below. Your story, your emotion, your memory, they could be a gift of inspiration to someone else. And perhaps even more importantly, they're a gift to yourself. If today's journey made you feel lighter, more connected, or even just a bit more inspired, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so we can continue exploring these gentle stories and meaningful ideas together. Because clarity, creativity, and curiosity, they don't belong to any one age. And you, dear friend, deserve to live each moment fully, no matter where you are in your journey.